How y'all doing? This is Will from CICHLID, and in today's video, Mike and I are going to show you some of the tips that we use to manage aggression in our tanks. Let's get to it.
Hey look, we know there are countless videos on the internet with several different opinions on how to manage aggression within your cichlid aquariums. But we have been asked numerous times by different viewers on what steps we take ourselves. So we figured we'd make a video that shows some of the methods we use to mitigate aggression. Will and I both keep tanks that house all different types of cichlids, from Lake Malawi peacocks and haps, or mbunas, to South and Central American cichlids. And these fish come in all different shapes, colors, and sizes. Within all of these species, there are some species that are naturally peaceful, and then there are some that are absolute terrors. Between the two of us, there is constant motion and experimentation in both of our fish rooms, and sometimes the experiments fail and fail horribly. And that brings us to our first point: researching and having a plan. Trust us, there are times when shopping online or in your local fish stores that you come across a fish that you just have to have. So before you buy that fish, take it home and add it to the aquarium. Take a quick 5 minutes and hit Google or YouTube to research your prospective new fish. Understanding everything you can, from water temperature to diet to potential take mates, is extremely important when adding any new fish. Now that you've done the research and decided to take your newfound fish home, within an hour or so, you already have an idea as to whether this arrangement is going to work out. If you're not like Will and I, who suffer terribly from multiple tank syndrome and don't have multiple tanks, knowing beforehand where you want to move this new problem fish is extremely important. This is where having friends in the hobby that you could maybe swap or give your new problem to definitely helps. A lot of times, your local fish store will take in your new fish as well, but depending on how that store does business, you just may not get anything in return. That brings us to our second point: saying goodbye. Part of the whole premise behind CICHLID is how we bridge the fish hobby with mental health. For us, when owning super aggressive cichlids, it's very important to maintain aquariums where the environments are pleasing to the eye and, for the most part, peaceful. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is own a fish that is big, beautiful, and a butthead, terrorizing all the fish in your once peaceful aquarium. Recently, in my peacock and hap tank, I ran into this issue twice, with two of my favorite and most colorful fish in the tank. Here is my OB Ali, owning 100 gallons of the 210-gallon aquarium to himself. I left him in for months. I tried all the usual tips in mitigating aggression. First, I tried to rescape the aquarium. No sooner than I pulled my arm out of the aquarium, this dude was back at it, digging his breeding pit and not letting anyone within feet of his space. Next, I tried to add more fish, understanding that with African cichlids, especially with peacocks and haps, overstocking can significantly reduce aggression, and that just didn't work either. That is when it was time to make the hard choice. I took him out, placed him into a quarantine tank, and sat back and observed the 210. It only took about 10 minutes before this OB playing King of the Hill took his place. I was over it, so I took him out as well and placed him into the same quarantine tank and let Will know, dude, I've got two OBs that will hopefully work out in your 150. Without hesitation, he came over and got him. And guess what? After about a week in his aquarium, all is fine. Now to the South and Central Americans. If you saw last week's video, which is up in the right-hand corner, I changed several aquariums and moved fish around. Will and I decided to experiment, moving G-Money, my 1-year-old red tiger motor, to his 250-gallon South and Central American tank. We understood the risk, and Will had a 60-gallon in his garage on standby if he needed to rehome him immediately. Will has some absolute monsters and stunners in this aquarium, so the thought was that G-Money would find his place in the hierarchy and fit right in. Fortunately, this experiment worked out for now. Will's 250 is a great example of how experimenting in the hobby can work out. Not only does he have several fish of the same species, he's got some fish that are known to be absolute nightmares. This, a lot of times, can go terribly wrong. Having fish that are very similar can a lot of times lead to some real aggression issues. And not to insult any longtime hobbyists, but more for anyone that's new to the hobby, this is called Conspecific Aggression. I recently ran into this issue in my 125-gallon Central American tank. I have this big, beautiful black belt cichlid that I was keeping in a 55-gallon by himself. I also had this wild Colombian Oscar in my 60-gallon downstairs after moving him out of the 75-gallon in our bedroom with 2 paired Oscars. In both of these cases, I had to move these fish for 2 reasons: conspecific aggression and tank size. I attempted to move the black belt back into the 125, feeling pretty good about both the space and the other fish in the aquarium, and figured that after about 4 months and significant growth, he'd be able to hold his own. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. As soon as I put him in, this electric blue Texas cichlid was all over him, so I decided to take him out immediately. That's when things went from bad to worse. I took him out and put him right into the 60-gallon with the wild Colombian Oscar and called it a night, with plans of rescaping a 55-gallon hospital tank in the morning to put him in until I can find him his permanent home. These two were only in the same tank for about 10 hours, and man did this black belt put a beating on the Oscar. So I rescaped the 55 and moved the Oscar out immediately. This is him recovering with clean water and salt, and I know he'll just be fine in the weeks to come. We hope by sharing these stories and tips that you can avoid some of the aggression issues that you either have in your aquariums or may have in the future. Neither Will or I are experts in the hobby, having only seriously been doing this for about 1.5 years, but definitely wanted to share our experiences and steps that we've taken to provide us with the peaceful experience that we truly enjoy in the hobby. If you've got any stories or advice on how you manage aggression, please leave them in the comments below. We are definitely always open to learning. We hope you all enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And until next time, be safe.